The Citizens United case and the other decisions the Supreme Court has made has only made it worse. During the 2012 presidential campaign, outside groups spent more than $1 billion. That's a conservative estimate. That's about as much money as was spent in the previous 12 elections. But this spike in the amount of shadowy money being pumped into elections isn't surprising. Recent decisions rendered by the United States Supreme Court, I've mentioned it, Citizens United, McCutcheon, have eviscerated our campaign finance laws and opened the floodgates for special interests. The cynics may scoff at the idea of us working together on an issue as critical as good government, but it wasn't all that long ago the issue of campaign finance reform enjoyed support from both Democrats and Republicans. Campaign finance reform has been proposed a number of times before, even by my friend, the Republican leader, Senator McConnell. Senator McConnell's own constitutional amendment, his own, he sponsored it, empowered Congress to enact laws regulating the amount of independent expenditures by any person which, quote, from his legislation, can be made to expressly advocate the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate for federal office, close quote. In advocating for this reform, Senator McConnell said, and I quote, "We Republicans have put together a responsible and constitutional campaign reform agenda. It would restrict the power of special interest PACs, stop the flow of all soft money, keep wealthy individuals from buying public office," close quote. There's a lot more that he said. But that gives you the general idea that at one time, Senator McConnell agreed without question with me and most of the people behind me. Senator McConnell had the right idea then, and I'm hopeful that we can rekindle a way to bring forth these noble principles again. I find it hard to fathom why my Republican colleagues would want to defend the status quo. Is there any member of this committee who really believed the status quo was good? Although he opposed billionaires using their own money to run for office, Senator McConnell now supports a billionaire's ability to fund today's campaigns and independent expenditures. In fact, he even declares today, quote, "In our society, spending is speech," close quote. How could everyday working American families afford to make their voices heard if money equals free speech? American families can't compete with billionaires if free speech is based on how much money you have. My Republican colleagues attempt to cloak their defense of the status quo in terms of noble principles. They defend the money pumped into our system by the Koch brothers as free speech. Our involvement in government should not be dependent on our bank account balances. The American people reject the notion that money gives the Koch brothers, corporations, or special interest groups a greater voice in government than a mechanic, a lawyer, a doctor, a healthcare worker. Because they believe, as I do, that elections in our country should be decided by voters. Those Americans who have a constitutional and fundamental right to elect their representatives. The Constitution that everybody loves to talk about doesn't give corporations a vote, and it doesn't give dollar bills a right to vote. The undue influence that my friend decried 3 decades ago has not magically transformed into free speech. David Copperfield in Las Vegas, the great illusionist, couldn't come up with that one. It's still bad for America. It's bad for the body politic. We must undo the damage done by the Supreme Court's recent campaign finance decision, and we need to do it now. I support this constitutional amendment. I admire and I congratulate Senators Tom Udall and Senators Michael Bennett for their authoring this amendment, which grants Congress the authority to regulate and limit the raising and spending of money for federal political campaigns. Senators Udall and Bennett's amendment will rein in the massive spending of super PACs, these secret organizations, which has grown so much since that January 2010 decision of Citizens United.